Y'all see you back on here with another episode of the Indigo Podcast. And today, the title of this episode is how to be more consistent with your health, nutrition, and training. Because I know there's a lot of chatter online about the best diets, what foods are quote unquote good or bad, and so on. But I know when you break down health, nutrition, and training down to the basics, which includes eating mostly whole, minimally processed foods, getting in a decent amount of plant foods and fiber, managing stress, getting in some cardio paired with strength training a couple times a week, hydrating, 7 to 9 hours sleep, all that stuff I talk about all the time, and so on. It becomes a game of nuance, discernment, and a big gray area which doesn't sell as good as the detox pills and wide array of supplements out there that are simply taking your money and your time. So I just think it's so much stuff with health that people conflict and throw out there to skew people away from the basics, the things that actually work, and the things that if you apply consistently, you'll see the fruits of your labor and the results that we all want to see, losing weight, getting a six pack, or being able to go to the beach, or whatever people want to do. But I just think all this stuff makes it way more complicated to the average person. It makes it way more unfeasible for them to actually get started. But anyway, with all that being said, let's get into the first thing that goes with how you can be more consistent with your health, nutrition, and training, which is a long-term mindset. I think being consistent with your health, nutrition, and training is not something that's done for a finite period of time. Instead, it's an extended process that may look a bit different in different areas of life and different seasons of life, but the basics of it always stays constant. So just some examples I have here is getting a six-pack in 5 minutes. I'm not gonna lie, younger Caden, if I was trying to go to the pool or go out to a party, I ain't gonna lie, I've done that before. I don't know if younger people like in 2010, 2015 did that. I did, not gonna lie. Even though I would never do that now because you can't get a six-pack in 5 minutes. Like, that's impossible. And then on top of that, you have a training plan that'll help you get a 16-minute 5K in less than a week or 2 weeks or so, which I've done a half marathon. Obviously, I've ran 5Ks, many of them, and it doesn't work like that. It takes months of preparation and consistent bricks stacked over a period of time to get that result you want. And I think these are all examples of instant gratification centered around short-term mindsets instead of delayed gratification and long-term mindsets. I think this also goes along with accepting that the change you want to see will not happen overnight. All these detox pills and super fad diets and all these things that people are trying to sell you, it's short-term, it's instant gratification, like I just said, and it doesn't work like that in the grand scheme of things. We all know it doesn't work like that, but it's trying to skip the hard work and skip the consistency, and it's not realistic. And honestly, it does more harm than good. You're losing a lot of money, you're losing a lot of time, and a lot of these things haven't really been tested or not third-party tested, and people don't really have extended studies on them. Well, they may or may not, I don't know, but I just know that the main thing that people are avoiding is the hard work. It's just trying to speed past it and go around and do gymnastics around it like it doesn't exist. And we all know it exists. It's just the fact that it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes sacrifice. It takes things that you have to take away from your life, like maybe being on TikTok doom scrolling all the time, or being on Instagram all day, or being on Netflix all day. Nothing wrong with these things if you use them correctly, but I just think these modes of, like the six-pack in 5 minutes and all these instant things and things that are so quick and like, oh, if I do this, my problems will be solved and it'll cure everything in my life. No, it's just things that are speeding past and blinding you and kind of covering what's really there, which is being consistent and actually putting in work. And I'm saying, obviously, you shouldn't work yourself to death and not rest. I mean, rest is very important. I've learned that as I've gotten older. But at the same time, you can't beat hard work. You can't speed past it. You can't get around it. There's nothing you can do. There's no magic pill. There's no magic serum. It doesn't work like that, And people that are pushing this out there, they know this, but they know that if I put in the title six-pack in 5 minutes, or okay, lose 50 pounds in a week, or so on, it's going to grab you. It's clickbait. It's going to grab your attention. It's going to be like, okay, I don't want to do the work, but hey, this person's promising that, so hey, let me try it just so I can just ignore it. I'm saying? You're just delaying the inevitable. And on top of this, another thing, it kind of veers away from what I said, but it's the importance of flexibility and sustainability. Because I think all these things that people are putting out there, like the detox pills and all the stuff I just said, it's unsustainable, and it's not, people don't really like doing it. It's not feasible. And I think when people get on these crazy extreme diets like raw vegan or fruitarian or breatharian, even, which I ain't gonna lie, crazy work, it's just not enjoyable. I feel like with health and wellness, obviously, because some people, even to take it to that extent, some people say, oh, your food shouldn't taste good or you shouldn't use seasoning. I'm like, bro, what are we talking about? And I'm saying you should season your food. That's another topic for another day. Not even. I mean, it's common sense, but I just think when you're enduring a new dietary habit or diet, if you want to say that, or a new training regimen, or just a new way of living life that's more beneficial in the long term for longevity and health and stuff like that, you should make it as enjoyable and as possible, while still getting in, your micronutrients, your fiber, your protein, all that type of stuff that we know that will extend our lifespan and extend the quality of our life. You know what I'm saying? And if it's not, if you can't enjoy it and you can't make it flexible and make it adherable, it's not going to work. It won't translate on paper, because I think with all these things that people are putting out there, these extremes, it doesn't translate on paper and it doesn't make sense for certain people's lives, because certain diets may work better for certain people just because they're certain people. They're different people. They're different than me and you. But at the same time, that shouldn't be the end all be all for the best diet for every human being or the best approach or the best schedule or whatever, because some people may work a construction job, or some people may work a 9-to-5, or some people may work at a movie theater, which is a 9-to-5, same difference. But you know what I'm saying? People live different lives. So how would I be to say, or how would someone else be to say, hey, this is the magic pill, this is the short-term fix for everybody, umbrella, and end the story. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you have a wife or a husband and kids. It doesn't matter if you're 16 and you're a cross-country runner. It doesn't matter if like I said, you work construction. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. This is the magic thing, and I'm gonna give you this magic thing, and it's gonna solve everything. That just doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? And I think when people get in the mode of doing things that aren't sustainable, obviously different periods of life are going to look a bit different. Like for me, I just got off half marathon prep. That's way different than me not in half marathon prep. I'm not running 60-mile weeks. You know what I'm saying? Right now I'm at 30 to 40 miles per week. It looks different, but the basics of it and the grand scheme of it never changed. It's just consistency, flexibility, adhering to something they can adhere to that looks a bit different maybe for an extended period of time. It's not a short-term fix. It's not something that you can just throw on there and boom, it gets fixed. It's like just a magic wand. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. But anyway, number one, a long-term mindset instead of all this detox teas and, oh, it's going to alkalize you, or like, pack it up, stop it, please. I ain't gonna lie, it just annoys me when I see people do stuff like that, and I know they're hurting themselves and wasting time. It's like, okay, whole foods most of the time, get some hydration in, stress less, get some good sleep in, connect with people, talk to people, social life. And I'm saying that's the cornerstones of health and nutrition. Obviously, I've fallen victim, not even fallen victim, because we all choose what we consume, but it's so easy to get into all the noise and not ignore the noise, which gets into number two, ignoring all the noise. And I just want to start this off with a quote that I think encapsulates the importance of ignoring the noise, not just in health, but just life as a whole. Because I think health and life, I mean, it's both kind of the same thing in my eyes, but it's very cohesive. I don't know if it's a good word, but it all melds together. It all blends together. It's not just, oh, I train hard and this is my life and I go to work. I feel like it supports everything. It makes you able to show up better in your work and how you show up for other people and so on. But anyway, the quote I wanted to say before I started yapping, I wanted to say this quote right here from Bruce Lee, which is, absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. Bruce Lee, obviously. But you may ask, what is ignoring the noise, discarding what is useless, and absorbing what is useful? Basically everything Bruce said, because I ain't gonna lie, I don't want to reiterate all of that, but what does this have to do with being more consistent? Which is a very valid question. Some of us may think that being consistent with our health is just eating mostly whole foods, going for runs, and lifting, which is all true in some respect. But however, I think that our ability to double down on ourselves, block out the BS, and focus on what we want our lives to look like helps us take that consistency even further. I think just from experience, when you're hearing all this noise and you're hearing these detox pills and all these magic serums that people are throwing at you, it takes you off course and makes you more stressed. Just from experience, I don't know about other people, but from my experience, it makes you more prone to consume even more BS. You're like, okay, they're saying that broccoli is bad for me. They're saying that oatmeal is bad for me. So what else is bad for me? So you're going to go down the rabbit hole even further because you've seen all this BS that just draws you in and it gets you in the mode of, okay, what else is bad, and you want to find, and you want to dig and dig and dig. In reality, just eat some more broccoli, eat some more fruits and vegetables, eat some legumes, eat some fatty fish. You know what I'm saying? Which people know, but it's just making things complicated sells. It doesn't matter if it's pop culture or music. I mean, obviously with music, however, I think music is a bit less harmless than health. I think with health, you're actually putting things in your body, and, the wear and tear can wear on you. I mean, with music, it's kind of just discourse. People can get offended, but you know what I mean? I think that with health, especially with social media factored in, when you hear about one thing and it like kind of scares you, because I think fear plays a big thing, because fear is one of the strongest human emotions, and it can draw people in and get emotions in there and all that type of stuff. But I think when someone's scared, especially with nutrition, because I think when people say this is bad for you, this is toxic, and use all these key words, it scares you. You know what I'm saying? It detracts you from being consistent, which is the main thing, especially with training. You know what I'm saying? I've seen that day in and day out with training, especially with the half marathon, just coming from May and to when I even run it, I forgot, October. We're still in October. I'm thrown off, but it's just consistently getting the runs in, consistently getting your meals, and consistently going to bed at a decent time, consistently stressing less. And I'm saying that all compounds. And when you see all this BS and you're absorbing things that are useless, and you're not absorbing what is actually useful and plausible for you, it detracts you from the main thing we need, which is consistency, getting out the door, putting in, the things in your grocery cart that you actually need, that actually will be health promoting, getting to bed. Like I just said, it all takes you away from what actually needs to be done in the simple things, because the simple things don't sell, like I just said, and the simple things aren't as appealing to the average person, and to add on to this, there's no quote unquote best diet. There's no magic bullet, like I said before, with the detox and all that type of stuff, or whatever else the noise on the internet may try to promise us. Instead, there's nuance, there are gray areas, and if we use all the time we overanalyze and overthought these things to get more sleep, get out in nature and go sit down, because there's this little area, a little side tangent, but it just came in my head, so I'm gonna say it real quick. There's this little pond area in my neighborhood, and I sat down there because there's some benches spread out, and I sat down there and just sat in silence. Like, people might, oh, you on your monk stuff, like, what are you doing? But I just sat in silence. I'm like, bro, like, it's just nothing. I'm saying, and I feel like with nothingness, because there is this thing that this rapper Joey Badass said a while ago, and it was just saying how we fill our time every day with something, a stimulus, and I'm saying something in our face, and there's not a lot of time for boredom. I'm saying, I feel like when I'm in that setting, just in nature, and I'm saying with trees and the body of water or whatever, it's nothing. It's just me and nothing. Obviously my head too, I'm thinking of things, but I think, like I said, getting out in nature, meal prep, planning ahead for our next training sessions, we will see way more progress than we think. Because the main thing I want to get across here in this section is the noise and all this stuff that we focus on, and all that, because even with training, I see in the lifting community right now, it's like science-based lifting and optimal lifting, getting the deepest stretch. Would all these have merit, and all these things are important for training, in my opinion, but people blow it out of proportion, and they're trying to do these freaky workouts with different grips and okay, do some bicep curls, and I'm saying, pause at the bottom maybe for a little bit, get a decent stretch, accelerate on the eccentric, concentric. I ain't gonna lie, I'm not gonna say the word because I don't want to butcher it, but basically what I'm trying to say is we overanalyze, we overemphasize the little things instead of picking up the big pebbles and the things that actually make a difference in our lives. I'm saying, and I think we all focus on, well, not we all, some people don't as much, but I think that in society as a whole, we're focusing on things that are so insignificant in the grand scheme of things, instead of doing the work, going to the store and getting health promoting things to make health promoting meals, going to train consistently, no matter if you cycle or swim or run like me, going to lift a couple times a week, and making that all work around your other life obligations and responsibilities, and just being consistent with it. That doesn't sell, and everything else honestly noise, but that noise gets a lot of people drawn in, and it takes their attention away from the consistency, what we're all talking about right now. But number 2, ignoring all the noise. So I think the internet, you can go into any rabbit hole. I've been in a lot of rabbit holes on the internet. It gets devious, it gets bad. So anyway, other than that part, 3, it's never too late to start it. Because I think before I get into this part, I want to start it with something that I thought about a while ago, which is, I think, is very applicable to this section of the podcast. And that's the fact that it's not about how we start, but it's about how we finish. And I think I see with a lot of even younger people now, they're like, bro, why are you eating healthy? Because I got this question one time. I was at the lunch table when I was still in school, and one dude asked me, hey, what'd you bring to lunch? And I told him like black beans, rice, carrots, super healthy, Delphi in a lot of people's eyes or whatever. And he's like, bro, it's not that serious. You know what I'm saying? And I think that comes from a place of the norm. The norm was like I wrote here, I'll get into this, I might as well just get into this now. The norm of the age limiter. And I feel like it's when you hit a certain age, all goes downhill and it's quote unquote impossible to shake back. Because I've heard, I'm crying, words are hard. I've heard a lot of people when they get older, they say, hey, I can't get healthy anymore. I'm done. I might as well stick to McDonald's and the Domino's and all that. Like, I can't shake back. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the perfect time to shake back because you still have a lot of time on your hands, even though you may think that, oh, I spent all my years just eating Hot Pockets all day so I'm cooked. But I think, like I said, it's not about how we start. It's about how we finish. It doesn't matter how down bad you are in whatever realm of health or just life in general. You can always come back and you can always better yourself and you can always be consistent. Because, I wouldn't say I started being consistent late. It's kind of early, but there was a big part of my life where I would just eat anything. I wouldn't really be intentional with how I trained. I would just hoop here and there. And it just takes one switch. It takes one moment in your life to be like, okay, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being mediocre. I'm tired of just doing things to do them. You know what I'm saying? It's just time to be more intentional. And I think this is where having your why and having conviction, having morals and values around why you're doing certain things is really applicable. Because you have a why and you have a code as to why you're doing these things. It makes it way more easier and it makes these things have really hard meaning, really hard meaning behind them. And I just think a lot of people set themselves short because I've heard people say, oh, when you're 25 now, which I ain't gonna lie, that's crazy. That's rambunctious to say. When I'm 25, hey, my knees are going to be crackling. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? That's what I've heard. And I think if the norm shifted of, not eating Hot Pockets and Takis all the time, 'cause I think the main thing here is all the time. Like if you want to eat an 80-20 split, so 80% of the time roughly, you don't have to get all mathematical and break it down, but just overall, roughly 80-20%. That's a good gauge for most people to see great health outcomes, right? If you do that and you minimize the Takis and the slushies and all the stuff we know we should mitigate, you would see way more progress and you can actually set yourself further instead of farther back, So I just think the norm of the quote unquote age limiter, the thing I just titled as, it's really big in today's day and age. And I think a lot of people just become comfortable with it because it's comfortable to just go to Mickey D's and just get a 2-pounder or a quarter-pounder. I don't even know, stuff like that. I haven't looked at the menu in years, but, get some ice cream when the ice cream machine's actually working and, get a McMuffin or whatever. It's so easy to do that instead of going to the store, which I think is actually easier than people think. Because just for me, also to add on to this, one thing I just thought about, when you get in the mode of being healthy consistently, it becomes way more easier than everybody thinks. Because I think since I've been doing it for years now, it's just like brushing my teeth. I just go to the store, and I honestly like a lot of the quote unquote healthy foods. I think your palate changes and just the norm shifts and you become one of it. You adapt to it over time because the human body is very adaptable in terms of health, training, wellness, whatever, sleep, just different stimuli that you apply to yourself, But I think just to close it out with this part, the closing point I wanted to add is you're never too old, too down bad, or too unskilled. Because I ain't gonna lie, at one point in life, I thought, I'm just average at sports. I'm average at running. Because when I first started running, for example, to take it there, I wasn't really that good. I was okay. You know what I'm saying? And I hated running at first, but you have to give yourself the time of day and you give yourself the chance to actually pursue greatness and see the consistency play out. You can't just lean into all this noise and just sidetrack it, But anyway, to get back into my little spiel, I wasn't really that good. I was just average at running. But junior year, like I said, sophomore year, I've said this before, I ran the 400 dash and I just didn't execute the way I wanted to. I ran a 62 second instead of running 60 flat, which is my goal. Well, running sub 60, I wanted that goal for so long. And then that just made me want to take it really serious. And ever since then, I've just been taking it really serious. And I think you can make yourself way more skilled than you think, and you can make yourself way more. I guess the word powerful is good. Just make yourself better. I'm saying just improve on things that you thought that you were never once capable of, But anyway, to continue the closing point, because I just wanted my little spiel real quick. But you're never too old, too down bad, or too unskilled to better yourself through through your dietary habits and patterns, training regimen, physical and mental recovery, or mindset. It takes the courage to push against societal norms, a willingness to endure a process, and a level of accountability for yourself and those around you who are watching. You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of a sticking point, kind of the general consensus as to what I was trying to get at. And I think the most important part, well, not most important per se, but one thing just looking at this that stands out to me is around those who are watching, or those around you who are watching. I think when we challenge the norm and we do things that aren't quote unquote normal, even though I would say they're very normal, just looking from the outside looking in, it makes people curious. It makes people think, okay, what are some things that I could change potentially? Not necessarily, I don't want people to compare themselves and bring themselves down because they're like, oh, I've been doing this for so long, I'm so cooked. Like, bro, it's okay. We all get a chance to start. We all get a chance to learn how we would finish. You know what I'm saying? Learn how we can wrap up our, wrap up our legacy, wrap up what we want ourselves to look like. And I think when, like I said, we challenge the norm and we do things that are very different than different groups or, other family members may have seen, or different, just people in general may have never seen, it draws them in, it makes them curious, and it makes them maybe, I guess, want to follow ship, to put it that way. But I just think a lot of us have way more pull than we think, especially people that have a lot of followers and stuff. If people that follow you may see that and, they're eating crazy stuff all day, like Hot Pockets and all that all day, and they see you eating some fish and some quinoa and some broccoli, just a standard healthy meal I can think of, they may be like, what am I missing out in my life? What can I do? And what can I do to better myself? And how can I change the trajectory of my family around? Because, if other family members, if they see that, they might think you're crazy and you're having an existential crisis at first. But if they really lean in and, what habits does he have to make himself better, and what routines does he have, and how can I take this, like I said with the Bruce Lee quote earlier, how can I absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add as specifically their own? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think, like I said, we're all going to be the same. We're never going to be the same. We might have similar features, but just taking from people that have been proven to be successful and proven to actually better themselves, you know what I'm saying? It's not copying them or replicating them. It's learning from them and adapting from what you see from them, But anyway, number 3, it's never too late to start. I think that's a big one. I think a lot of people are like, oh, you're unk status now. You're never going to be like, I can never be healthy. I can never go to the store and buy my own groceries and plan it out. Like, okay. Like, I don't know. I just think it's a weird norm. And I think that a lot of people have just accepted that and just kind of become comfortable with not moving the needle in their life, But number 4 is health is not one-dimensional. And the major point I want to make here is that things will never be 100% perfect or optimal, but that lack of perfection should not cause things to be disproportional. Because the fact is, being healthy or, getting in healthy meals or getting to bed at a specific time consistently, stuff like that, it contains many aspects, not just one. And I think laying out where your life looks like right now, your goals, and what season you're currently in helps set the precedent, helps set the idea of what your health should kind of look like in that point in time, And I think a good example for me personally was the half marathon, because in that point in time, the main focus was the half marathon, obviously, and lifting had to take a backseat a little bit. And I think one thing I was naive about, especially during cross-country season, is that I thought everything had to be firing on full cylinders, and it still is, even though it's a lower frequency. It's just you're doing it less so you can prioritize things more, And I think that I would neglect sleep and my stress management, neglect, social relationships a bit more, and just focus on, I need to lift the same amount I did before. I need to run, crazy, which, running, that's fine, but so is rest and recovery. So is talking to your mom and talking to your friends and maybe your girlfriend if you have one or whatever. And I'm saying it's equally as important. it might look a bit different based on what the priority is, but your obligations and your schoolwork and your work, that doesn't go out the window when you get into prep and you get into a different mode of life. You know what I'm saying? So for me personally, I think I would go all the way here, all the way 100,000% on two things, and then all these other things would be like dang near 0%, and that's disproportional. It's not perfect. It never should be perfect, but it shouldn't be extremely disproportional. It shouldn't just make no sense, And I think you can be super dialed in with your diet and training, but if your sleep is horrible, your social life is horrible, your mental health is on cloud nine, you're just everywhere, you're always stressed 24/7. If this is the case, I would argue that you're unhealthier, and I would argue that I was unhealthier than I thought. I thought since my diet was dialed in, my training was dialed in, oh, I'm good. I'm saying, but I was stressed a lot. My mental health wasn't really there, and I was just neglecting a lot of things. Well, not necessarily fully neglecting them, but they weren't proportioned correctly, even though they're not supposed to be balanced all the time. I don't think you can be fully balanced, but you can be kind of proportional. I think the main word is kind of, and I'm saying it shouldn't be perfect, but it shouldn't be crazy. I'm saying you shouldn't just be focusing on diet and training. You should be focusing on them, but when it comes to a point of diminishing returns, I think you're doing more harm than good, and I think you should probably reallocate your time and your energy and resources to other things in your life and try to round it out a bit more proportionally. But anyway, that's the 4 things I wanted to go over today. Is being more consistent with your health, nutrition, training. Because this is actually supposed to be the episode for last week, but I put this one on the back burner because I wanted to talk about this still, but I wanted to talk about hip hop last week because I don't know, I thought that was a big thing. Check that episode out if you haven't already. But anyway, yeah, that's all the yapping I got to do today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. Hopefully y'all took some away from it, and hopefully y'all can better yourselves from this episode and, evolve from it, or evolve from whatever state you're in right now. But anyway, that's the episode for this week. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. I love y'all, and I'm going to see y'all next time.